Hey everyone, welcome. My name's Charlie and today I'm moving to a deserted island. I'm tired of being around people and I'm entirely removing myself from society to live in the middle of nowhere with a bunch of animals. So really we're playing Animal Crossing is what I'm saying. I decided to play for a whole month to see how much progress I can make with my only goal being to get my dream villagers. Doc, Scoot, and Maple because they're adorable, as well as Wolfgang because he was my favorite villager from my first Wild World island, and Lucky because he was the profile picture of my best friend on some online Animal Crossing forum as a kid. Alright, with all that out of the way, let's jump right into it. To start us off, I spent the usual 2 hours creating my character so it would look as much like me as possible and grueling over the overall unimportant decision of where I wanted my rivers and docks to go. I was getting super excited once we began flying over the island, and I was hoping that luck would be on my side and I'd get one of my favorite characters right from the get-go. Unfortunately, I got stuck with these two losers, Faith, a weird-looking koala, and Boots, a stupid sporty crocodile. Look at those clothes, even he knows he's a clown. After heading to the campsite, we were all given a tent to pitch anywhere on the island that we wanted. Personally, I really liked this riverside real estate, especially with all the apple trees around it, so I put my tent there. Once I'd finished putting mine up, I felt a little bad. You know, maybe my judgments on Boots and Faith were too rash. So I offered to help Boots set up his tent and proceeded to place it as far as humanly possible from my own. Unfortunately, it wasn't possible to strand him on this little piece of land, so I ended up just sticking him in the bottom right corner near the beach. Similarly, I set up Faith as far to the western side as possible in the hopes that I wouldn't be forced to mingle with her. Then came the moment of truth where our island journey would really begin, choosing the name, and we decided in the spirit of democracy to pitch some ideas for the island. In the interest of sticking with our grain theme, I settled on Quinoa, distinguished and beautiful. Unlike Isla del Biceps. Are you kidding me, Boots? Literally go back home. Yeah, it had been a single day and I already had it out for Faith and Boots. But mostly Boots. One of my biggest goals right out of the gate was to save up 5,000 Nook miles to pay off my very first loan to Tom Nook, as is tradition. So, I started doing a bunch of things to get points, like taking selfies in front of my tent, shaking trees, and posting a nice message on the community board for everyone on the island to enjoy. I got myself a fishing rod and started to do a bit of fishing to fill the time. Also, look at this little idiot. He didn't even clap for me. Literally just walked away. Eventually, fishing got boring, so I had a little chat with Boots to try and collect some miles, and we actually ended up taking a nice little stroll on the beach together. I was all business though, and after a couple hours, I donated enough new fish and bugs to unlock the museum. Instead of saving my money like a smart person, I also purchased not one, but 2 of these inflatable sofas for 2,200 bells. I have a problem. Because I'd have to wait until tomorrow for Blathers to arrive, I started a pile of fish to donate once the museum opened and continued working on Nook Mile quests. One of them was to change up my passport, and I ended up nicknaming myself Unhindered Clown, which I thought was very fitting and hilarious. Here, we'll put a nice little message here for all our visitors. All 0. Eat your vegas. After paying off my 5,000 Nook miles, placing my inflatable sofas, and tossing my extra donations onto the museum pile, I logged off for my first day, satisfied with my work. When I woke up the next morning, I no longer had a disgusting yellow tent. I am now a homeowner. Unfortunately though, it's at the cost of 98,000 bells, so I'm disgusted. I decided the best way to deal with my crippling debt was to ignore it just like in real life, so I cleaned up my pile of fish and donated them all to Blathers now that the museum tent was up. Afterward, I crafted a vaulting pole, bought the tool ring, and then put the vaulting pole onto the tool ring, allowing me to now access all the other parts of the island where I picked up weeds and dug up some more fossils to have inspected. In no time at all, I donated enough new things to unlock the real museum, which would be built the next day. I really wanted to upgrade my pockets and also save up for Nook Miles tickets to go villager hunting, so I spent a bunch of time collecting all the shells from the beach and selling them for miles. While I was doing this, I also stumbled across Gulliver for the first time and helped repair his phone because he is helpless. Once I'd purchased the Pocket Organization Guide, I still had some extra miles in my pocket, so I began the hunt for my perfect villagers. Right out of the gate, the first island seemed pretty boring. It just had regular trees and flowers and stuff, not much going on. But then, I met Fauna. She's cute, adorable, sweet, amazing, perfect. I couldn't leave her behind, and so I invited her to come live on Quinoa with me. Now that I had a villager to live for, I returned to my island with new gusto and started gathering the materials for Timmy and Tommy to open up Nook's Cranny. The wood was relatively easy to source, but I was having some massive trouble gathering the iron I needed. With no rocks left on my island, I needed to get some more Nook Miles tickets to farm materials there, but I was fresh out of miles. This is how I ended up doing my first group stretching session. My second island wasn't nearly as lucky as the first in the villager department, so I just focused on grabbing the materials I needed, and just like that, I'd finished gathering the iron for the shop. This meant that Nook's Cranny would be up and running tomorrow, and I chose this really nice little location for it next to the waterfall. By the time I logged on the next day, Nook's Cranny had been built, and who was inside but Mabel? She told me that she wanted to start traveling to the island to sell goods and maybe even set up a shop here in the future. Who knows? We know. I'll get you to move here eventually, and get you to bring Sable with you. Sable is so precious. There wasn't really much to get in Nook's, but I did buy this candle for the vibes, as well as the recipe for pitfall seeds. Let's just say I have some plans for those in the near future. I had a lot more miles to collect if I wanted to hunt for villagers, so I spent that afternoon doing a little bit of everything. I did some rock hitting, some fishing, watered my flowers, and placed my candle in the exact center of my house. My island was developing fast, and Nook asked me to help prepare 3 houses for some potential new villagers and craft a bridge to place on the island. After crafting the bridge, I decided to place it right here next to my house to link the top and bottom of the island. Then, I began to place down the 3 villager homes and prepare all the items needed to decorate them. This required lots of apple picking and wood cutting. Eventually, I finished decorating all 3 of the homes, and although I was excited to get new villagers, I was not very pleased to be getting bossed around by Tom Nook for the 5th game in a row. It's been years. As I was walking around the island the next day, I stumbled across Harvey, this little mustache dog that, in my opinion, if you squint and kinda tilt your head a little, could look exactly like Harvey from Stardew Valley. It's the mustache. It's the mustache. The museum had just officially opened, so I collected Fish Pile Part 2 and donated everything to Blathers, grabbing all my extra fossils to evaluate for good measure and selling the extra ones for money to pay off my loan. I also splurged on the pretty good tools recipes, meaning I could finally water my flowers more than once without the can breaking. What a great day. While purchasing that, I decided to get the lattice fence recipe too, which inspired me to make a little garden plot with my carrots. Ultimately, I want to have some sort of cute plant botanical kind of theme where I can integrate the carrots into the island design a little better. For the time being though, I figured I'd just grow them and sell the carrots for a little extra dough. I'm gonna say it again, Fauna is one of my new favorite villagers, and we were just chit-chatting the next day when she gifted me a bottled ship. This item gave me a super good idea for decorating one of the beaches on my island. To do that though, I'd also need this bucket. 2 of these buckets. Oh my god, okay, 3 of these buckets. Also this trash bin. Starting with these items, I wanted to make a little fishing dock area around the entrance to the island. I'm thinking some planks on the ground, some railings, maybe a restaurant, who knows? But for now, we will make do with 3 buckets and this ship in a bottle. Another exciting thing was that one of the new villagers had moved in, and I was super eager to see who it was, but it just turned out to be this weird bird. After collecting some bells from the money rock, I finally had enough to pay off my loan, allowing me to upgrade my house once again. While running around the island afterward, I stumbled across good ol' Red for the first time and swiftly headed to his little boat parked behind the island. He had the same candle I already owned, which made me laugh. And also this. What a statement piece. So bold. So brash. I ended up buying some random painting for the museum, and after drawing some art of my own, I'd finished for the day. On the 6th day, I decided to hop onto my island at night because there were lots of different bugs and fish and such depending on the time of day. First of all, it was snowing. Apparently it was officially winter, which was cool, but I was mostly super excited to find Mabel hanging out and selling some clothes. Even though I only had 3,000 bells to my name, you know that I purchased 3 sweaters, jeans, and a pom-pom hat. After collecting a couple money trees and discovering this little dung beetle rolling a snowball, so cute, I stumbled across this random villager I'd never seen before. Also, remember that weird bird I mentioned before? Yeah, well his name is Jacob, and Jacob pulled me over the next morning and gifted me this giant vine, which I absolutely fell in love with. This will work so well with my plant theme, but I still hate you, Jacob, sorry. Jacob and I parted ways, and I moved on to some of my chores and really struggled over building a snowman. I thought that the snowballs were supposed to be the same size. I think that may have been how it was in an old game or something, but all of them were very angry to be misproportioned. That's my bad, that's on me, yeah. When I headed into town hall, good old Tom Nook gave me the lowdown on the KK Slider situation. Apparently, our goal was to have KK Slider, International Dog Pop Star, perform on Quinoa, and in order to do this, it was all on me to build a campsite, find some new villagers to move in, and make the island beautiful. And so, begrudgingly, I crafted a campsite and put it up toward the top of the island, buying myself a rice cooker as a reward. When I played Animal Crossing as a kid, I think I remember hearing that having a lot of flowers makes your island more perfect. And you know, I would have killed a man to have a Jacob's Ladder on my island, so I had this kind of subliminal obsession with overloading my islands with flowers. Like on my first New Horizons island, I had so many flowers I stole from island tours that it was actually pretty bad. This time around, I'd like to restrain myself and prevent the same thing from happening. I'm hoping that by saying this, I can will it into existence, but from the looks of things, I'm already treading in dangerous territory. By the next day, our first villager was visiting the campsite, and I was so excited to see who it was. And when I walked in, I saw this adorable face. Marshall. And again, Marshall was not one of the villagers I originally wanted, but when I walked into that tent, I just fell in love with his spunk and his adorable squirrel face, and I couldn't help myself, so I invited him to move to Quinoa. Once I'd changed into some Christmas apparel, I continued building up some plots for villagers to move into and purchased a duster which I used to harass Faith. I just genuinely don't understand what the purpose of the duster is, but I found it very funny and I was happy to have bought it. After doing a bunch of tasks for Miles and placing a new plot for a villager home, I went on a couple island tours to try and find some good villagers. Although the first one didn't have a great villager, it did have peaches, which was very exciting, because another thing I've always been obsessed with in Animal Crossing is collecting all the fruits. I don't actually think I've ever done it though, so hopefully I can on Quinoa. The orange is just so elusive. This second island was super cool, and I got a bunch of bamboo shoots and also found the pink octopus villager. I know a lot of people really like the octopus villagers, but I'm kinda not into them. They just don't really fit with the vibe of my island, I feel. After 4 unsuccessful islands, I gave up for a bit because I was just sick of the disappointment. I grinded Miles for a couple hours and did a little more villager searching because I still had hope. Not much, but some. I found a money rock island, which was cool. I've never found one of those before, but after stumbling across this specimen, I literally just gave up. I can't do this anymore. The next afternoon, I realized that this elephant had moved in, Eloise. I don't like the way her hair looks. I don't really want her on my island. Look at it, it's just hanging there. It makes me so uncomfortable. A lot of my focus for the time being was on the foundational island developments, like building a couple more villager homes and starting the construction of a bridge to the left side of the island. All my hunting for villagers kind of distracted me, but I realized that the Able Sisters had been open for like a whole week, so I decided to pay them a visit. They were actually selling like the exact outfit I wear pretty much every day. I was super hyped because my character looked just like me, but then I got stung by bees immediately after, and I was a little less hyped. Now that I've upgraded my house for the 3rd time, I not only have a massive front room, but also another room to the back of my house. I decided to place a bed directly in the middle of this room. It looks extremely ominous, but I kind of like that vibe. We were about 1/3 of the way through the month, and we still hadn't gotten a single one of my dream villagers, so I had mentally revised my goal to just getting one of them. Day 13 on the island was Toy Day, which meant Quinoa was visited by the lovely Jingle. Unfortunately, Jingle is terrible at his job, so I was tasked with crafting some wrapping paper and then handing out gifts to all the villagers. Hello? Oh my god, who are you? How long have you been here? I thought that maybe because it was Christmas, I'd be granted with a good villager from an island tour, but I was incredibly wrong. So to process this tragedy and to get Miles, I decided to partake in a group stretching session. Everybody was there, even Jingle, which kind of made me laugh. Like, don't you have a job to do? Why are you just stretching with us? I also decided to change my town tune to the Gerudo Valley theme for no particular reason, and also changed my flag. There, look at that! It's a plate of quinoa. It is truly my magnum opus. To further get into the Christmas spirit, I hung these stockings in the middle of this empty wall and then created a little post to remember the day by. At this point, I'd mentally given up on having good villagers and I felt betrayed by the Christmas spirit, but when I entered the campsite the day after Christmas, something amazing happened. Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god. No way. For some reason though, I wasn't able to invite him to move on my island, which got me really scared. I checked around the area, so I knew there was one plot open, but for some reason it just wasn't happening. After talking with him over and over for like 2 minutes straight though, it finally happened. I had a dream last night, I moved to this island and you and I were hanging out just like this? It was so real, what do you think it means? I think it means you're moving here. Wait, what? After playing card games for over 10 minutes and winning a bathrobe as well as a stereo, I was starting to lose hope. You know how sometimes you just feel at home in a place? Well, I'm feeling like that right now. Okay, let's run with that feeling. Oh, you're kidding me. Oh my frick, I want to scream. I drew my card, what color do you think it is? Red or black? It's gotta be black. It just has to be black. I swear to freaking God if I get this wrong and I have to stand here for another 20 months. Ooh, Wolfgang. I take back everything I said. I believe in Jingle, and I believe in Christmas miracles, and I've never been more happy in my life. Look at how cute! That little hat, the squishy jacket. I love you, Wolfgang. After putting together a perfect snowman, I started to do some island hopping and found this little monkey, Deli, who I thought was very cute, but not cute enough. Defeated, I spent the afternoon collecting a bunch of shells I could pawn off to get bells for the bridge donation. The next day was New Year's Eve, and I'd never seen the New Year's Eve celebration in Animal Crossing before, so I was super excited. There was a massive countdown clock in the middle of town square, and I had my celebratory hat on, so I was ready. Before the countdown, I pretty much just bumbled around the island and stocked up on the Christmas ornaments, just in case I needed them for any crafting in the future. Goodbye 2021, hello 2022. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yay! Happy New Year! This is so cute. May this year hold exciting adventures for us all. This video is definitely not coming out anytime near the new year, but Happy New Year anyway. On the first day of 2022, the KK Slider said that he wanted to visit Quinoa. My island, however, was a hot mess, and I couldn't let KK Slider see it in this state, so I spent the entire day preparing. To begin with, I fenced in all the terrible villagers, starting with Dumb Faith. I also spent like hours making some really bad planks and water puddles. Definitely gonna need to find some better custom ones online, but for now, they'll do. Also, big news, I happened to run into Patty while I was decorating the island, and she said she wanted to move out, which was such good news. I need better villagers, ASAP. I knew there was another villager that had moved in as well, so I decided to stop by and see who it was. No. You don't understand. This stupid freaking gorilla, Al, was on my first New Horizons island, and I literally could not stand him. I want to cry right now. Here is one of the posts from my notice board on the island I referenced. Yeah, I was not thrilled. But that's okay, it's 2022, new year, new me. I decided to partake in some calming activities to take my mind off it. I built a snowman, donated more bells for the bridge, fished a little, decorated, and then began to plan my revenge. First, I crafted a heck ton of pitfall seeds. Then, I put up fences around Al's house so he couldn't escape and planted some pitfall seeds right in front of the door. I also decided to block in Ugly Squirrel and Boots just for KK's benefit. For some reason though, even if you fence off their front door, sometimes the villagers can get out, and this was one of those cases. Boots was literally chasing me around. It was terrifying, so I decided to bury a pitfall seed and lead him right into it. Loser. After adding some cute decorations around the campsite, I felt that the island was finally ready. The next day, KK came to the island and we had a lovely little concert. But my work here was not done yet. No. Honestly, it hasn't even started. My main objective now was to collect as many Nook Miles and bells as I could so that I could add some more bridges and stairs to the island and start actually decorating it. I also realized that I could finally do one of the boat tours with Cap'n, so that's exactly what I decided to do. I had never ever gone on one of these before because I stopped playing regularly before they were added, so I was excited to see what different types of islands there were. The first one was nothing too special, but I was obsessed with these little hedges and ended up filling my entire inventory with them. Again, I have a problem. I also found some gyroid fragments which I'd literally never seen before, but I was still excited to have them. When I showed the fragment to Blathers, he asked me to find Brewster, and I almost lost my friggin' marbles. I loved Brewster so much. Unfortunately, I couldn't find Brewster that day because I'd already gone on an island tour, so I decided to plant a bunch of the bushes I collected and stumbled across this villager. Look at her! Her name is Velma! She's so cute, but again, I feel like she doesn't fit the vibe of Quinoa. However, something beautiful happened on my second tour for the day. Okay, who do we have here? Oh, hello? She's so cute! Welcome to Quinoa, Poppy. I was feeling pretty good about finding Poppy, so I ended the day there and returned the next morning to set out on a cabin tour to find Brewster. I convinced Brewster to move to Quinoa, and after a quick Google search, I realized that if I buried the gyroid fragments and then watered them, they'd turn into regular gyroids. Is it working? Oh, they're steaming. Okay, that's a good thing, right? Because Brewster was moving to Quinoa to open up his cafe, the museum was shut down for renovations. That was okay though, because I dug up my gyroids the next morning and decided to put them in the corners of my creepy bedroom. I feel like it really lends to the vibes. To finish off the day, I went on an island tour and it ended up being an island filled with bell trees. I got a good couple $1,000s that I could put toward the Zen Bridge, and I also got a bunch more carrots to plant on my island as well. Did I go overboard? Yes. Do I regret it? No. Not yet, at least. Most of the night was spent collecting fossils and harvesting carrots and fruits to sell. The most exciting thing, however, was that the cafe was finally finished. It looks just like it used to! I need a coffee. Oh my god, the drawn out coffee pouring. I can't. This is so exciting. Drink it while it's hot. What does Brewster sound like? Drink it while it's Things on the island were progressing pretty quickly, with Nook's Cranny upgrading as well, which was exciting news. After selling some of my extra stuff, I headed to the Able Sisters to change up my look a little, and lo and behold, I found the best outfit to ever exist. For some reason, they were selling this caterpillar costume, and it paired perfectly with these green bandages, so of course, I bought it and cosplayed as a Hollow Knight grub. Sable was not amused, but you know, I was, and that's all that matters. Funny enough, this day happened to be my annual Remember That Harvey's Island Exists day, so I took a little visit to Harv's Island, and there was like a whole campsite thing up here. I have never seen this before, but apparently you can pay a ludicrous amount of money to open up different shops and stuff, so that's pretty cool. Doubt that'll happen anytime this year. Do you want to move yet? Nope, goodbye. Do you want to move yet? Nope. When I visited Marshall to return a lost journal from the ground, he had Jacob over. That little traitor. We don't fraternize with the enemy, Marshall. You should know better. I was getting closer to completing the first bridge, and I only needed about 40,000 more bells. Unfortunately, I didn't really have a good source of income, and I couldn't find the tiny turnip lady to participate in the stock market, so I was out of luck. However, my luck returned the next day when I headed out on a cabin tour and was greeted by this beautiful sight. Isn't it so pretty? I'd never seen any of this stuff before. There were like bushes and glow moss and vines. It was literally insane. I also found the recipe for the grapevine on the beach, so it seemed as if the Animal Crossing overlord approved of my plan for a plant-themed island. I realized at this point that Nook's Cranny had finished upgrading. Totally forgot about that, but it was huge now. I went back to what I was doing after like an hour and finally purchased the cliff construction permit. This is basically what I've been working up to this entire time. Now I can modify all the land on my island in any way I want, and I had a vision for this little stretch of the island behind Nook's Cranny in particular. I thought it looked really nice, and I could change the bushes for any season too, so it's versatile as well. I continued working on this cliff design the next day and pretty much finished it up on the right side of the island. To celebrate, I harvested some carrots and visited Marshall. Yes! Good choice. That is what I'm talking about, buddy. Geez, why is Marshall so popular? What the heck? I hung out with Marshall and Poppy for a bit and then donated the last of the bells needed to build the Zen Bridge, meaning that by the next day, we had our first beautiful bridge in Quinoa. Leif visited again the next day, and I impulse bought a whole bunch of flowers to plant outside the town hall. I really wanted to start growing flower hybrids because I had a good amount growing on the other side, but it still didn't feel like enough. I want golden roses. I'm not messing around. That afternoon, Marshall taught me to smirk as Leif looked on, and after trying to win over Sable some more, I got a cup of coffee at the Roost and then added some more gyroids to my creepy room. After building a couple snowmen and talking to the villagers, I finally got enough Nook Miles points to purchase the waterscaping permit. This meant I could now modify all the waterways on the island as well. I ended up leveling off the river up toward the top of my island and putting down another Zen bridge there because I thought it would look nice. I also cleared out a spot here for a staircase in the future and then headed to visit Poppy, and oh my goodness, I'd never visited her house before, and let me just say, it is so adorable and I love it. Wolfgang, no! He's sick. You need medicine? I've got you. I need medicine, this is a crisis. Also, your flooring is ugly. Ew, this guy is still here? What the nut? Here you are, Wolfgang. I took Captain's Island tour and found a sugarcane. I've never seen this before in Animal Crossing. I also got a bunch of gyroid fragments, so I buried and watered those when I got back home and then planted all my sugarcane up by the campsite with my carrots. As is tradition, I put my new gyroids in the creepy room the next morning and then resolved to do better as a person and as a neighbor. I found an item on the ground that someone had lost, so I chatted with Wolfgang to see if he knew whose it was so that I could return it. That's not mine. If I had to guess, I'd say it belongs to Boots? No, absolutely not. How do I drop this? I can't drop it. I really wanted to start decorating my island, so I bought a couple path designs with my Nook Miles and began laying them down. I was a little too scared to commit though, so I just ended up putting them at the entrance and in front of my house until I figured out my plan. First and foremost though, I needed to raise the money to pay off my loan and finish my other bridge. I collected the apples from all the trees on my island and sold them along with some other stuff for a good chunk of bells. When I woke up the next day, Wolfgang had sent me a gift saying he couldn't help but notice I'd been working hard lately. Like, what? Thank you! I feel seen, I feel heard, I feel valued. This is why we love Wolfgang. As if that wasn't glorious enough, when I walked into town square, this angry squirrel that I totally forgot about was considering moving out. And I was like, heck yeah, bye, see you never. That's a slot now open for a villager much better than you. To celebrate Angry Squirrel moving away, I paid off my loan, expanded my house once more, and then removed the fences from around this property. They served their purpose. And as if all that wasn't enough, Sable finally caved and started talking to me, meaning we're best friends now. It's whatever. For my final day, I mostly spent the night in silence, reflecting on the month that had passed and all the progress I'd made on Quinoa. I still hadn't gotten rid of Faith or Boots, but I'd gotten some great villagers, made a ton of progress, and expanded my house a bunch. I'm now 550,000 bells in debt, but I suppose that's just the Animal Crossing experience. Overall, I'm really happy with the progress of Quinoa. Even though I hadn't done any crazy decorating, I was mostly laying the foundation for the island and getting up to speed with all the features, and that's ultimately what I wanted to do. I call this first month a win solely on the fact that we got Wolfgang. I'm so happy about that, but there's still a bunch more villagers I want to get and more things to do, so I'm pumped. Thank you guys so much for watching, I really hope you enjoyed. If you did, feel free to leave a like or subscribe to the channel, I'd love to have you here. Alright, I'll see you guys next time. Bye!